Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Mishtabam Sabharajagachaya Astatara Satasi Simad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Mishtabam Sabharajagachaya Stote Satasi Simad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 16, The Two Doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, Jaya and Vijaya, cursed by the sages. Brahmovacha iti ted grinatam tesham muninam yogadharminam pratidnandya jagadedam vakunta nilayo vibhu iti tad grinatam tesham muninam yogadharminam pratinanja jagadedam vakunta nilayo vibhu iti tad grinatam tesham muninam yogadharminam pratinanja jagadedam vakunta nilayo vibhu. Vaishnavis. Brahma Uvacha. Lord Brahma said, Iti, thus, tat, speech, grinatam, praising, tesham, of them, muninam, those four sages, yogadharminam, engaged in linking with the Supreme, pratinandya, after congratulating, Jagada said, idam, these words, Vikunta Nilaya, whose abode is bereft of anxiety, Vibhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation, Lord Brahma said, after thus congratulating the sages for their nice words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is in the kingdom of God, spoke as follows. Text 2. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Itau Tau Parshadau Mahyam, Jayo Vijaya Evacha, Kadarti Krityamam Yadvo, Bhavakratam Atikramam. The Personality of Godhead said, these attendants of mine, Jaya and Vijaya, by name, have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me. Purport. To commit an offense at the feet of a devotee of the Lord is a great wrong. Even when a living entity is promoted to Vaikuntha, there is still the chance that he may commit offenses But the difference is that when one is in a Vaikuntha planet, even if by chance one commits an offense, he is protected by the Lord. This is the remarkable fact in the dealings of the Lord and the servitor, as seen in the present incident concerning Jaya and Vijaya. The word atikramam used herein indicates that in offending a devotee, one neglects the Supreme Lord himself. By mistake, the doorman held the sages from entering Vaikuntha Loka, but because they were engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, their annihilation was not expected by advanced devotees. The Lord understood that the trouble was due to his lotus feet not being seen by the sages, and therefore he wanted to please them by personally going there. The Lord is so merciful that even if there is some impediment for the devotee, he himself manages matters in such a way that the devotee is not bereft of having audience at his lotus feet. There's a very good example in the life of Haridas Thakur. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was residing at Jagannath Puri, Haridas Thakur, who happened to be Mohammedan by birth, was with him. In Hindu temples, especially in those days, no one but a Hindu was allowed to enter. Although Haridas Thakur was the greatest of all Hindus in his behavior, he considered himself a Mohammedan and did not enter the temple. Lord Chaitanya could understand his humility, and since he did not go to see the temple, Lord Chaitanya himself, who was non-different from Jagannath, used to come and sit with Haridas Thakur daily. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam, we also find this same behavior of the Lord. His devotees were prevented from seeing his lotus feet, but the Lord himself came to see them on the same lotus feet for which they aspired. It is also significant that he was accompanied by the goddess of fortune. The goddess of fortune is not to be seen by ordinary persons, but the Lord was so kind that although the devotees did not aspire for such an honor, he appeared before them with the goddess of fortune. Translations again. Lord Brahma said, after thus congratulating the sages for their nice words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is in the kingdom of God, spoke as follows. The Personality of Godhead said, these attendants of mine, Jaya and Vijaya, by name, have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're hearing from Lord Brahma. Brahma Uvacha. That should let you know immediately that you are in store for authorized sound vibration. Knowledge depends on whom you're hearing from. It's not that we simply hear from this one or that one and then try to make up our mind. First, we must understand the qualifications of the one who is speaking. But the Kali Yuga system is that, well, this one has his opinion, she has her opinion. We'll hear from all types of persons, no matter what their behavior is, no matter what their purity is, and then we'll fashion what? Our own conclusion. Because after all, everyone's entitled to their view. And why can't I have my view? In fact, I will establish my unique individuality by having my own unique view. Often, when you hear persons talk about how they want to be themselves, they want to be true to themselves, to their own self, do things their way, you can almost always be sure they're imitating someone else. Because in the age of Kali, the grip of Maya is so strong that everyone is doing the same thing, although in their mind they think, oh, I'm being such an individual, I'm being so unique, I have my own style, my own flair. But there's really nothing new going on. The bottom line is the same. You can see today, the bottom line is how to make money and how to please my senses. Either I do that respectfully, so-called, in a currently socially accepted way, or I don't care at all about what society thinks. Still, the end result's the same. I've got to please my mind and senses. I need entertainment. I need stimulation, gratification. Otherwise, I get very angry. So this is the situation. Whether your culture is this culture or that culture, the bottom line's the same. Sometimes it is said that the main difference between India and the West is that in India, you're always concerned with what others think. What are they thinking about me? How are they perceiving me? Family, friends, society, how are they looking at me? And in the West, no one cares what others think. But still, the bottom line is the same. How to try and be happy in the material world. Either you do that in a way in which you're concerned with what others think, or you do it in a way in which you don't care what others think. But the bottom line is the same. So this is the situation. We don't know who to hear from, and therefore, whether we admit it or not, our consciousness is loaded up with so many false conceptions that have been downloaded into us since birth. Why since birth? Since countless lifetimes. Understanding what is authorized sound vibration will save us all this trouble. This is why Bhagavatam lets you know clearly who is speaking and what are the qualifications of the one who is speaking. So Brahma Uvacha lets you know. You're hearing from Adi Kavi, the original intellectual of the universe, Lord Brahma, the smartest person in the universe. And you can judge Brahma by his position, and you can also judge him by his words, the knowledge he's speaking. Knowing his position helps. And then when you see that Brahma's position is confirmed by the sound vibration he speaks, then you can be even more sure that you're simply going to benefit by hearing from Lord Brahma. So Brahma is going to quote the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma is relaying this whole incident with the four Kumaras and Jaya and Vijaya. So that's why you'll hear Brahma now referring to what the Supreme Personality of Godhead said. These attendants of mine, Jaya and Vijaya by name, these two have committed a great offense against you, the four Kumaras, because of ignoring me. So you might think, well, wait a minute. They didn't ignore the Lord of Vaikuntha. They ignored the four Kumaras. But here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is establishing that mistreatment to his devotees, an offense to his devotees, is the same as ignoring him. In fact, he's going to say to the four Kumaras that I'll do anything for my devotees, even cut off one of my arms. And he's going to apologize to the four Kumaras as if the Lord himself was guilty of the offense, to show that the master takes responsibility for the behavior of his servants. Therefore, the genuine servant doesn't want to embarrass the master. So here you see the Supreme Personality of Godhead is taking the blame for what his servants Jaya and Vijaya have done. This whole section of the Bhagavatam is designed to make you think about your behavior with devotees. It's designed to increase your focus upon Vaishnava dealings. Don't be casual about Vaishnava dealings. Don't be very whimsical when dealing with devotees. You should be focused. In this way, you will avoid any kind of reactions. The Jaya and Vijaya history, of course, is very complex. There are multiple layers. We cannot touch upon all those layers today. But you should know that actually the whole situation originated because of the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to fight, to have ferocious battles. But who's he going to fight with in Vaikuntha? They're simply devotees. Who is capable, who is potent enough to really seem to give ferocious opposition to the Supreme Personality of Godhead? As you know, there are different rasas, 5 primary and 7 secondary. And one of these secondary rasas is Vira ras, chivalry, valor in battle, courageous, showing courage in fighting. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead wanted to share that Vira ras. But who can do that? In fact, battling with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the most intense way is something only a devotee can do. So how is Lord Narayan going to satisfy his desire for ferocious battle? It can't happen in Vaikuntha. It can't happen even amongst mortals of the material world. They're too weak. They're no fun at all. You can just see what's happening now in Kali Yuga. The Asuras are destroying themselves. They're destroying their own habitat. They're driving one another crazy. They're spending billions of dollars on newer and newer weapons. They even say, when persons point out that, all right, if you fire your nuclear weapons, the other side will fire their nuclear weapons, no one wins. But they say, that's all right. If we're going down, the other side's going down with us too. They actually say that. We won't go down alone. We'll take... This is madness. As Krishna explains in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, this kind of mentality is meant for destroying the world. So who is Lord Narayan going to battle with? Foolish demons who will destroy themselves and actually comparatively are so weak? No, he needs some real competition. So what happened with Jaya and Vijaya? They, out of love, wanted to satisfy the Lord of Vaikuntha. We know you want to fight, and we know you don't have any suitable competition. We'll step forward. We don't want your desires to be unfulfilled. So the whole original motivation of Jaya and Vijaya is prema, love of Krishna, particularly love of Lord Narayan, because this is a Vaikuntha affair. It's not a Krishna Loka affair. But Lord Narayan is an expansion of Lord Krishna. So they volunteered. And this whole situation is being orchestrated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He's orchestrating that the Kumaras will feel mistreated, will be angry. He orchestrated that Jaya and Vijaya would not let the four Kumaras enter Vaikuntha. He orchestrated that the four Kumaras would curse Jaya and Vijaya. All this is done to create an extraordinary battle between the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Varaha fighting here in Yaksha, and as Lord Nrsimhadev fighting Hiranyakashipu. And then finally Shishupal and Dantavakra. So you might think that this is really tough on Jaya and Vijaya. They're sent to the material world. Where's the affection of the Lord for his devotees? They were in Vaikuntha, yet they were sent to the material world. What kind of, where's Bhaktavatsala, the Lord who's so affectionate to his devotees? But the acharyas in their commentary reveal that an expansion of Jaya and Vijaya always stayed in the spiritual world. Technical point. In that way you can see that the Supreme Personality of God is indeed always affectionate to his devotees. Devotees in the spiritual world can have expansions. This is explained in more detail in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. In any case, Srila Prabhupada wants us to focus on not so much the technical details, but on the major themes of the situation. By Srila Prabhupada's commentaries, he keeps you from getting lost in the endless technical details presented by the previous acharyas. A major theme is how we should be careful dealing with devotees. That was the other motivation besides the Lord of Vaikuntha, Vaikunthanath, besides his wanting to fight, wanting some decent competition. Also, there was a desire of Vaikunthanath to teach a lesson to devotees. Be careful how you deal with other devotees. Focus. Be conscious. Don't get trapped in a rut of familiarity in dealing with devotees. Oh, it's just the Prabhus. We see them every day, the same old Prabhus. Especially living in the ashram, you can really develop that kind of familiarity. Sharing facilities. You begin to develop a critical mindset about your ashramites, your fellow ashramites. When you first moved into the ashram, you saw all the ashramites as shining angels. They all look so pure. And then what happens? After a couple of years, you just see faults. This Prabhu snores, that Prabhu. Makes noise while I'm trying to read the Bhagavatam. That Prabhu can't play mridanga properly, but as soon as I come to kirtan and look for the mridanga, he can't play, but he's got the mridanga. Right? All these things like that. Why just the brahmacharya ashram? Same thing in the grihastha ashram. When they marry, oh, the eyes are glowing. They see a heavenly future awaiting. And then after a few years, the polish wears off, and you realize what it's like to live with someone day in and day out. It's hard enough dealing with your own mind, but then you have to deal with someone else's mind. And then as you get older, you realize it's so much trouble taking care of my body, but then you have to worry about at least 2 bodies, and if you have children, 3 or 4 or 5 bodies. And bodies mean problem. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. The intelligent person sees the fault of material existence, which is more than economic faults, political faults, environmental faults. The main faults of material existence are birth, death, disease, and old age. But we just take that as routine. We don't consider those 4 things to be worthy of our daily meditation. We're so ignorant. Consciously or unconsciously, we're saying, let nature's laws act on me. I don't care. Just let me be absorbed in how to have a nice life right now. So everyone's very busy preparing for the near future. I should go to the uni. I should become an accountant or this or that or the other. Then I'll be able to make money and have a nice, secure future. I should establish a relationship with someone and hope that it will last. And that's life. Oh, I should make sure I have a pension for old age. Make sure I have medical care. That's life. And it stops there. No one is thinking how to prepare for the next body. It sounds very exotic, the whole concept, doesn't it? You can try it. Ask your material family relations. Ask them, are you thinking what your next body will be? They look at you like, what planet are you from? Ishvara Prabhu writes home and to his family in Austria asking, what about your next body? What are your plans? I say, what happened to him? We sent our son to Australia to study, and just look, he's got all these strange ideas about what will the next body be, and we should be prepared. So in this way, we think we're very intelligent, but we're so blinded by ignorance. And that ignorance can creep into ashram life of whatever ashram, brahmacharya ashram, grihastha ashram, just familiarity. Just dealing with the same bodies, the same minds, whether at home or at the temple, the same bodies, the same minds. Therefore, Krishna, as Vaikuntanath, the Lord of Vaikuntha, wants to teach you a lesson by this incident between the four Kumaras and Jaya and Vijaya. It's a border incident. Australia is surrounded by water, so there are not that many border incidents, although sometimes at the top of Australia, persons try to arrive by boat. They used to try. But in the USA, there's the border with Mexico, and people from South America and Central America and the Caribbean are always trying to sneak into the USA through its land border with Mexico. So there are always these, what they call border incidents. But what you're hearing today is the real border incident, because this interaction between the four Kumaras and Jaya and Vijaya took place not in Vaikuntha, but at the border of Vaikuntha. So then you may wonder, why is it that the Lord of Vaikuntha is there? Because he made a special effort to go to the edge, the border of Vaikuntha, where the four Kumaras had been held. He went there to speak to them. He took the behavior of Jaya and Vijaya so seriously. He took responsibility for it, that he went there to the border to make amends, so to speak, because he was taking responsibility for the offense done by his servitors, Jaya and Vijaya. But then again, it wasn't actually an offense done by them. Everything was orchestrated by the desire of the Lord, who wanted to have some suitable competition in battle. And that could only be provided by a devotee. And the Lord of Vaikuntha arranged that Jaya and Vijaya would never forget him. They would be so absorbed in anger, but that anger was unique. It was anger that is fully conscious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And more, in each successive birth as demons, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, Ravana and Kumbhakarna and Shishupal, Dantavakra, with each appearance, the anger increased and the consciousness of the object of the anger increased. So much so that in the last demoniac birth, Shishupal, he was fully conscious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, since he was a little infant. The Shastra explains that Shishupal, even before he could speak properly as a little baby, was blaspheming Krishna. He would chant the holy names of Krishna with such disgust. Pundari Kaksha. He would say a whole string of names of the Supreme Lord that are meant for the glorification of the Supreme Lord. And he would just spit them out of his mouth with such disgust. And he was always absorbed in the personal beauty of Krishna. This is not the recommended way to be Krishna conscious, by the way. But Narada Muni remarks in the 7th canto that, if I could only be attracted to Krishna with the intensity that those demons hate him, my spiritual life would be successful. So Narada Muni is commenting on Jaya and Vijaya, how they were so wrapped up in malicious thoughts of Krishna with such intensity. Oh, if I could only focus on Krishna positively with that kind of intensity, my life would be successful. So this shows you how you can learn from any situation. You can find the greatest gold in the most filthy place. So that's what Narada Muni did. These demons, there's no doubt of their demoniac behavior. Ultra, maha, super demons. But, that special hatred was so intense. If only my attraction for Krishna in a positive way would be that intense. You know, later in the 4th canto, you have the history of Maharaj Vena, who also had a bad attitude against the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in his case, in the case of Vena, King Vena, there was no personal realization. He just hated the whole concept that there's a supreme controller. But he had no awareness of the name, form, qualities, and pastimes to be imprinted on his consciousness. Therefore, when the sages killed him, he just went to a hellish situation. Whereas the special demons who are killed by Krishna, they attain liberation. So let us always remember from this history how we should not take the association of devotees for granted, whether they're devotees in the ashram or devotees in our own home. Don't let the modes of material nature corrode the situation so that we forget what is our real mission in life. How to go back home, back to Godhead. Sometimes we tolerate the behavior of others, whether at home or in the temple. After just a short time as a devotee, once you no longer see halos on top of all the others' heads, after a short time you realize most of these devotees, they don't think the way I do. Most of them don't do things the way I do. And then you start to develop a critical attitude. Of course, even in your own home, if you're married, you have to be tolerant. What to speak of if you're living in the ashram? It takes special effort, there's no doubt about it. You just can't go on cruise control. You've got to make a special effort. You have to be mindful of your interactions with devotees. And that's what the Lord of Vaikuntha wants to emphasize, besides having a desire to fight against real competition. So this history of Jaya and Vijaya is very intricate and very deep. We can only touch a few drops on the surface of this vast ocean. All right, any questions? Yes.
In this incident, Jay and Vijay, their parents committed an offense and Krishna protected them. In their situation, being pure devotees of the Lord, that Krishna orchestrated that whole event. But in our situation, when such incidents happen and we go through difficulties, how do we develop that faith? How do we develop more and more conviction in Krishna? Because sometimes the idea comes that we blame the situation, blame others.
Yes, the fact is, without learning how to be humble, you can't last as a devotee. Sooner or later, some situation will manifest that challenges your false ego and humiliates you. Some devotees don't understand why you did what you did, and they falsely accuse you, or even worse, you did something glorious and you don't get the credit. And someone else gets the credit. Another devotee gets the credit for what you did. And you really get an attitude about that. It's not fair. Or even you're falsely accused of something. And so you never recover from that. So many examples. Devotees who do business deals between them, and the other devotee reneges on the deal. And so then you think, wait a minute, he's a devotee. How can he do this? I just give up on all devotees. That's why I always tell devotees who are doing business deals together, write everything down and have 3 witnesses. Because the way it works is that, yeah, we made this deal. I agree, Prabhu, you and I made this deal, but things just didn't turn out for me. And, anyway, everything belongs to Krishna. So. Come on, Prabhu, we're Vaishnavas. I know I promised, but that was, last year. Things come up, I had to make a sudden trip to India for this 50th anniversary of my Guru Maharaj or something like that, and therefore I didn't take proper care of the business. You understand, right? This happens all the time. So it's inevitable that due to social interaction in the age of Kali, even amongst devotees, sometimes there's some disagreement, misunderstanding, and as I say, sometimes you just have to swallow the soap and blow bubbles. It's just, and let it pass. And it does pass. But we feel so acutely injured. Oh, how could this happen? How could they treat me like this? They're supposed to be devotees. That's it. I'm not chanting Hare Krishna anymore. That's it. I'm not going to the temple anymore. This happens all the time. Social interaction, especially in this day and age, sometimes produces these frictions, these misunderstandings. And so such situations can only be dealt with by humility. And that's what Jaya and Vijaya and the 4 Kumaras are going to teach. The 4 Kumaras thought they're wrong. You'll hear that. And then they heard the words of the Lord of Vaikuntha, and they thought, well, wait a minute. Who's wrong here? Are we at fault? Are Jaya and Vijaya at fault? And then we have the Supreme Personality of Godhead saying it's his fault. So what's going on here? They were sincerely confused. But the service to the Lord goes on amidst all situations. Yes?
I'm confused about the borders of Vaikuntha. You said there's 7 gates that they enter through different sides. Gatekeepers for each gate. Why is there gates for the Supreme Lord's residence? What does it need protection or separation from? And does that mean...
You got something against Vaikuntha not having gates to his abode? Wait.
It's one of the questions the Kumaras asked. Why is there gates? Why are we being stopped from going inside?
They weren't qualified to enter within. What should they do? Hire a lawyer? Hey, get me into Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, there are palaces, there's all kinds of opulence, and there are gates. So this incident took place on the border. It's a border incident. But you're trying to figure all this out with your tiny brain, and you're dealing with a reality that's beyond time and space. How does Krishna fit billions of cows within Vrindavan? How does Krishna on the bank of the Yamuna dance with billions of gopis? Last question. Yes. All right. Two more.
Gurudev, sometimes there is a confusion in the mind about the difference between humility and protecting one's self-esteem.
What do you mean? Self-esteem? You're chanting every morning. I heard you all. Trinada Pisani Sahistuna. Do you pay attention to what you're chanting? Sometimes. Yes.
Thank you for the class. I was just thinking when a fellow devotee has fallen into that trap of their false ego has been tested by another devotee and want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and stop chanting Hare Krishna, is there anything as their peer that you can do to help them, or is that just their own pastime?
You try to sympathize with them and urge them to go to a higher level. A problem can never be solved on the same level that it originated. And so, sometimes there are these tests by Krishna. How much do you really want to be a devotee? We will see. You're chanting all those Shastika verses in the morning. Do you really know what you're saying? Of course, the ideal is that we make our association of devotees such that there aren't these misunderstandings. But we're not utopians, we're practical. It's the age of Kali, social interactions produce friction. The devotee community is like a hospital with patients of all different degrees of seriousness. Hospitals are for sick people. That means there'll be some outbreak of the virus within the hospital, but the expert medical staff keeps the contaminations to a minimum. So always remember, devotees are not perfect, but they're trying to be perfect. That is the unusual thing. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.